Yo guys, AJGX here, and in this video I wanted to discuss my thoughts and opinions on the latest series Sonic Prime. So as we know, a couple of days ago, Sonic Prime Season 3 dropped on Netflix, ending the series as a whole. And for the most part, I thought the series was pretty good. It gave a lot of character development, we got awesome new designs, and we also get to see how Sonic had developed throughout the series. With that all being said, I want to discuss Season 1 first. As we know, in Season 1, we get the opening of the series. We get introduced to the following characters: Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Shadow, Rouge, and Big the Cat, and also Dr. Eggman and Orbot and Cubot. There are a few background characters, of course, but they're not as important. So, the idea of bringing in the Paradox Prism as some kind of new gem or MacGuffin was very interesting, given the fact that when Sonic would eventually hit into it, it sent him to this realm called the Shadowverse and sent him into these other worlds like Boss Cage Maze and New York City. I forgot what you call it, but it's like New York City, basically. You get what I mean. So, the reason why I liked the series, and I really liked Season 1, was because that when Sonic didn't listen to his friends, and he charged head on into spin dashing and hitting the Paradox Prism, shattering, I guess you could say, not exactly shattering time, because at the end of the series, we all know that the events cancel each other out. But in Sonic's time, with him being able to move fast and stuff like that, it ended up sending him to another dimension in a way. And also, in this series, he has to work along with Shadow, which Shadow didn't get caught in the little anomaly that happened, allowing him to stay whole and not end up having alternate versions of himself. So with that all being said, I'm going to discuss Season 2. In Season 2, of course, Sonic by the end of this season gets betrayed by Nine, and he thought that Nine would really be a good friend to him, given that he reminded him of his actual friend Tails. And all of you know this if you've seen the series already, because of course I would expect you to know what happened in the series if you're watching this video. But given that we got different versions of Tails, Amy, Knuckles, and Rouge and Big, I thought it was kind of interesting how we got prehistoric versions of themselves, apocalyptic versions of themselves, and pirate versions of themselves. And they brought back a lot of different elements like the Chaos Emerald. We didn't see all 7 of them, but there was the green one that Shadow used. We also got to see a couple of Badniks, some new Badniks, and different things like that. And we also got to see different versions of Eggman. And I like this a lot because it kind of split Eggman's personality into 5 different ways. Like his main self being how he's an egomaniac and bent on world domination. His younger self when he was, I guess you could say, in his 20s, or how he was kind of like, I guess you could say, emo in a way. But actually his emo side actually shows up a little more with how he was as a young adult rather than being a little kid. Nonetheless, you also have his baby side, which I forgot their names. You can all say it in the comments down below if you feel like it. But you have his cranky side as well of when he was older. And some people did think that the older version of Eggman was actually going to be Eggman Nega. I hope I'm saying that name right and I'm not saying something else. Because the fact that this other version of Eggman is from the future and he has a white mustache and he's much more older. But anyways, Season 2 I thought was pretty good along with Season 1. And it gave us a lot of different things. And Sonic wanting to really get back to his home world, he has to work along with Shadow to try to get this done. Now, Season 3, the closure to Sonic Prime. Season 3 was interesting, and the fact that Nine was really trying to use as much power as he could to basically reform the Paradox Prism, but the thing that he needed, obviously, was Sonic's speed. And with this being said, Sonic really didn't want to fight Nine, and that's where I think the character development really came into play there, because, from what I know of, at least in the games and series and stuff like that, Sonic would never want to fight his best friend Tails or any of his friends. So for him to have to fight an alternate version of himself, it was kind of disturbing to him in a way. Because Sonic, he's not used to fighting Tails. He's used to fist bumping him, hanging out with him, taking down Eggman with him. That's what he's used to. He's not used to having to fight his best friend. And Shadow kept on trying to imply to him, like, this is not the Tails that you know and love. This is Nine. This is an alternate reality version of Tails. This is not Tails. This is someone totally different that looks like Tails. And Sonic eventually had to accept this. And at the end of Season 3, we see how Sonic had to sacrifice his speed power to get the Paradox Prism together so that Green Hill would open back up. And I thought this was interesting because the fact that Shadow had to help Sonic as well. And typically in the games and stuff like that, whenever we see Shadow around, we don't exactly see him next to Sonic working with him. Usually Shadow is doing his own thing. But to see these two work together, I thought it was a good thing for the series. Because the fact that, not that Sonic and Shadow exactly hate each other, but they don't exactly see eye to eye. They have their own ideals, and that's what makes them two separate characters at the same time. So to see these two work together, I thought was a pretty good thing. Another thing that I liked in the series was that they brought in Knuckles and Rouge and kind of showed them working together as well, rather than them fighting and arguing and bickering and things of that nature. I thought that was a good thing as well. Amy, for the most part, I would say that her character in this series was good because her regular self, she liked animals, but she liked helping and stuff like that of that nature, and she wasn't all obsessed with Sonic. You see what I mean? And her alternate versions of herself, Rusty Rose was pretty interesting. Black Rose, she was interesting as well. And Thorn Rose, she was another interesting character. And same with the other alternate versions of themselves. And along with that being said, I like to also mention that in the timeline, I was reading online that I think Ian Flynn, he mentioned about where this Sonic Prime fit in the timeline. And he says after the events of Sonic Advance 3, which because there is a reference to Sonic Advance 3 seen at the end of Season 3. And I think for the lore of Sonic, it's okay to put it at this time frame. Personally, I think it happens between the events of Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Colors. But it's up to the fandom to decide where they think it fits into the timeline. But with it being placed after Sonic Advance 3, it could make some sense because the fact that we do not see Silver or Blaze. Would have been cool if we saw these characters. I wouldn't even mind seeing Omega. But I think the reason why they didn't put Omega in the series is because he's a little more dark. And they wanted to aim this not only for adults, but for kids as well, so that the whole family can watch it. So I don't blame Sega or Wild Brain for doing this. So with that being said, I will now get into other things and how I truly feel about the series as a whole. Would I recommend Sonic Prime? Of course. Definitely go watch it if you haven't already. I would think that you would already have seen the series already, but you should watch it, Give it a chance. I think personally, it might be the best, other than Sonic X, it might be the best Sonic series that we've ever gotten. In the modern time frame, obviously. I mean, granted, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog was pretty good. Sonic the Hedgehog Saturday Morning was pretty good as well. Sonic Underground, I never really watched, nor did I really care for it that much. Sonic X, of course, is always going to be my number one favorite TV series because I grew up with it. But Sonic Boom and Sonic Prime beats it to the ground. And when I say that, I mean Sonic Prime is peak compared to it. There's good character development. The characters aren't just goofing around. And there was a storyline with it as well. And I was happy to get to see Shadow and Rouge come back into a modern cartoon because the last time we saw Rouge was in Sonic X. Shadow, we saw him in Sonic Boom, but the way they portrayed his character I thought was absolutely horrible. Well, so with that all being said, do I think you should watch the series? Yes, you should watch the series. You should check it out on Netflix or wherever you're able to watch it. And, of course, you should go buy some of the merch if you wish to do so. I will leave some links down below if you're interested in buying any of the Jakks Pacific figures off Amazon, online, on eBay. I'm going to put some Amazon links down in the description. So, pretty much, I'm going to give the show an 8 out of 10. I say 8 out of 10 because I kind of wish we got a few more characters like maybe Vector, maybe SBO. I understand they couldn't bring in any IDW characters, but I wouldn't have minded seeing Vector or maybe Blaze or maybe even Silver at the end of the series, maybe they give him a little cameo, something like that. So overall, pretty good series. It's good for any Sonic fan, anyone who's an adult, anyone who's a kid trying to get introduced to the Sonic series. And I think Sonic Prime is a good show to introduce them to the Sonic series as a whole, because not only it brings in a good storyline, but it does have some main Sonic elements within it. So this has been my review of Sonic Prime. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Definitely leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about the series. Maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't like it. Maybe we could share the same opinion. Maybe we don't share the same opinion. So overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and bye.